my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and this is Catacris TV today. And I'm happy to say today we have with us all the members of Chains Over Razors. You guys want to introduce yourself?
I'm Andy V, drummers.
Okay, so we got Andy V, and Andy, you're the drummer, right?
Yep.
And we got Mikey V. Mikey's the guitar player, and William Mullen is the lead singer now. Interesting fact is Mikey and Andy are twin brothers. What's that like for you guys being brothers and being in a band together?
Sometimes, what do you say? Sometimes it's like reading each other's minds, and sometimes it's just bashing each other's heads.
Yeah. And well, I got to ask you, William, being in a band with the two brothers, you ever feel like it's the two brothers against you? You like the odd man out?
No, I've never actually felt that. So that's a good thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, because I got to tell people I've interviewed you guys a couple times before this today, and I'm glad to have you back. And one thing I've always noticed is you guys seem to have a great chemistry, all three of you. And I think that's missing from a lot of bands today. And while it makes sense that two brothers would be tight, it seems like you're almost like the third brother.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
Yeah, I'm the mailman's kid.
And so Mikey, you're the guitar player, and are you the older one?
I'm the youngest, actually. Between my brother and I, and William is the baby of the group.
And so, Andy, were you the one that influenced Mikey to become a musician?
No, I mean, I'm really only like a minute apart from him.
Okay. Yeah.
When I originally started playing music, I actually wanted to play guitar because Joe Satriani's Summer Song came out and it was a really awesome tune, and I really wanted to play, but he wanted to play guitar, and I'm like, fine, I'll take drums. I don't mind beating stuff for an instrument, and with the most equipment to carry.
And I don't know if you guys know this, probably it's a well-known fact that when Van Halen was starting out actually Alex started out on the guitar and Eddie started out as a drummer, but then Alex kind of realized, hey, Ed, you're a better guitar player than me, so why don't we switch?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty natural thing. I mean, I wanted to play drums, and then my brother wanted guitar, and then we switched, and then the rest is history on that.
And when we were getting ready for the interview a few minutes ago before we went online, Mikey and me were talking, and you said you just came back from doing a gig, and it was a real fun gig. You want to tell people a little bit about that?
You want me to talk about it, my brother?
Well, whoever, Mikey was telling me you guys just came back from a gig, and it was the place you did it was really cool. He was saying it was kind of remind him of a professor,
Yeah. It was a giant mansion on a hill, literally on a hill. It looks like Professor X's mansion from the movie X-Men.
Yeah.
It looks almost identical to that on a hill, and you walk in and you got a staircase like the upper balcony, and it's all wooden floor, and then you got the lower staircase that goes down to the floor area, and it has a balcony and a floor area for all the people, and then one really big stage and a great sounding system. But it was a very interesting setup because you see this giant mansion house and you're like, that's the venue, and you walk in and it literally looks like an old-fashioned venue inside. It was pretty cool.
When you guys are driving around trying to find the place where you're going to be playing that night, did you drive past a couple times saying, nah, this can be
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I think the only reason we found it is that we happened to see one of the other bands carrying a bass drum in the alley to the back, and we're like, that must be the venue.
That's a good sign. And what I love about that story is, I mean, typically when you're playing a place, it's not so much about the venue, but for a venue to make that kind of impression on you guys, it must have been quite a sight.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would give each artist a Tommy gun as a send-off.
Yeah.
But that was just wishful thinking. I'd take that over a bottle of water any day.
And so, Mikey, as I said, you were a guitar player. I was curious. You guys are a three-piece, and that's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of the great legendary bands, even you go back to Grand Funk, Cream, all great three-piece bands.
Yeah.
Now, why did you make the decision to be a three-piece? I mean, talk a little bit about if you were a three-piece versus having two guitar players in the band.
So I'll try to rewind to our first album that Carmine Appice produced with us. And we were in Jersey, and we didn't have a bass player at the time, and the tuning we were in was just so low. And remember talking to him like, well, we still got to get a bass player. And he's like, where are you going to put a bass player in this stuff? There's no room sonically. And, we would joke around with each other like, hey, sure, this isn't a different key. I'm using a capo in this song, and he's like, we'll transpose it. And he goes, you guys are going to figure it out. You're going to be a 3-piece, the two brothers and a singer. And, we set out to figure it out. And as time went, I would bring enough gear for a 5-piece band, just trying to split to bass rigs so I can play bass and guitar at the same time, and, have it loop so I can solo over the bass that I have created. And eventually we switched to a device by a company called Fractal. And now I could program all my amp rigs in this unit, and it made a setup time from 45 minutes now down to like 10 minutes. So, and we had to figure that out, and we did, and we sonically come across as 4 or 5 guys for 3 guys.
And I gotta say that makes sense. There's all this controversy about bands playing to tapes, but I think in a case like what you're talking about, I mean, it's perfectly a legit reason to do so, because you're playing your guitar, William's doing his singing, Andy's playing the drums. It's just kind of odd man out, because you don't have that 4th guy in the band. So okay, want to do a show and do a great show. This is what we have to do. It's part of the show,
Yeah, and that unit really brought the life back into us live. I said I ran through a bass rig and had that split and had my guitar transposed, and it was putting out the sound of the bass, but not really the feeling. And then when I got this unit by Fractal Audio, it's the newest model, I was absolutely able to now, as if I had a bass DI'd through the PA system. So now you got this low mass, and and then the whole album was written around that. So that way it's like anything we're doing on the album, it's like, you're going to see it live.
And I mean, you guys are in good company, because I think another band that comes to mind that didn't really have a bass player when they played live was The Doors. They had session musicians come in and play on the record, but it wasn't a big deal for The Doors. They had a pretty successful career. So I think you're in good company there.
And and he also kind of did both at the same time too on the keys. He'd be playing bass notes. So long we have that spectrum filled, it's it's covered. And it's cool that technology is allowed for us to do that without bringing in a 15-foot trailer full of gear to do it. So
that's pretty. I got to ask you, William, as the frontman and the singer, what was it like to be in the studio and having a legendary musician like Carmine Appice producing you guys? Because people may be surprised to find out not only is Carmine a great drummer and everything in his own right, but he's a remarkable songwriter. I mean, what was it like working with a guy like that and having him, give you guys the tips or whatever he did?
It was incredible. It was something that I had never experienced in my entire life, and wow, it was just blown away by it. Actually, I expected it. I don't know why. Knowing that he came from New York, I was expecting him to have like an English accent. Didn't happen. It was straight New York accent. I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm from Chicago-ish, so yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have been following all the controversy with Nikki versus Carmine. What do you think about that?
I definitely like to chime in. I know he just released new shirts that says something about Nikki 6. He posted on his page today. I died laughing about it because Carmine is a straight shooter. He tells the truth, and he's going to tell it straight up. And it backfired on Nikki 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a fan of both, but I mean, I think Nikki really in this case didn't think, because how can you say a guy like Carmine is washed up when he's had a 50+ year career?
Right.
He made his point pretty valid. I know on Twitter, he made it pretty clear, saying that at least his stab back was basically at least this musician can play. Was his retort to Nikki Sixx's tweet.
Yeah.
But to add to that, though, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's written a fundamental rock book of rock drumming. He's done journalism. He's influenced so many people. He's just very spread out all over within the industry of so many different areas that he knows what he's doing and what he's talking about. So to kind of go after him and to say that, yeah, he slapped him pretty good back.
And, a band like you guys that actually work with Carmine in the studio, you actually know the guy. You can actually say, I don't know about that, Nikki. I mean, it must be something pretty good laugh, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, like I laughed about it because I thought it was funny, but you're exactly right. Talking to him and knowing what he knows, if that's going to be stated, he's got reason to state it and back it up, and that's exactly what he did. And there's nothing that stopped McMars from coming back out and saying, yeah, he's 100% right, and then it just exploded all the wrong ways for Motley Crue. And I like Motley Crue. I really do. I love listening to their music. I have all their records. So however it may be, it played out. Maybe he could have just chosen his words a little more carefully. I guess.
I mean, as a Motley Crue fan, I mean, I'm kind of excited to hear they're working on new music with John Five. I'm a huge Mick Mars fan, but you know what? I think John Five is the one guy that could maybe replace Mick Mars. He's a super guitar player, a super songwriter. I think so. He's got that to bring into the band,
Yeah, True. John Five. I mean, he's done everything from country music to heavy metal. I mean, there's nothing that guy can't play. He's a phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah, he's written with songs with everybody from Rob Zombie to Alice Cooper to Leonard Skinner. So another guy that can do it all,
Yeah, and he'll bring it definitely a whole new aspect to Motley Crue's music, or a new, a nice new updated change, to what they were, to something that you wouldn't expect Motley Crue to do. I think that's what he's going to bring to it. So it's going to be exciting to hear it. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and now in prepping for the interview today, because I knew I was going to talk to you guys, I went back online and I listened to some of the tunes off the album. I urge people to go out and buy the album. It's a super, like what I like to call a killer debut album. They say you have your whole life to write your debut album, and this is one of those albums where there's no filler. It's all just kick ass. I took a couple notes. So first, when I remember the single when I interviewed you the first time, Mikey, behind These Eyes. I mean, that's a great metal track with melody, and it's one of these tracks that starts off kind of slow, but then it really give it a major kick.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first songs we wrote on the album, and then that was our first single that we went with, and just to watch it start just flying up the charts was amazing to see. None of us expected it. We broke top 20 on a Billboard.
Again, right out of the gate, how amazing was that? I mean, I bet that's one thing you didn't really expect.
Yeah, we
Not
didn't.
at all.
You get the email and the reports, and it's like, all right, who's fucking with us? What I mean?
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah, now this is going back like a year ago when you first released that as a single. Tell me, when you first released the video, were the fans responding right away, and what was it like when you play the song like in concert? People just go wild for that.
Yeah, it seems to be that tune that we kind of save it for last right now because that was the first single.
Yeah.
And when you just when the first riff and the whole band's in, you could just tell everyone's like, that's the tune, and everyone's coming on up and just rocking out to it. It is high energy, and it's just first song. Yeah.
let me ask you, William, Andy, like when first time you heard that song on the radio, what's that like to hear one of your own songs on the radio?
When I heard it, I was driving around with Mike, and we're like, I think the station's playing it. They kind of tweeted about it, hinting that they're going to play it, and we were just listening to it, and we managed to find a stream through iHeartMedia. Through their app that was streaming the radio station. So we put it on, and sure enough, we heard like the radio station's call sign. They did some like chopping effect that was at the same tempo of the intro of the song. And as soon as the call sign ended, it was the song playing, and like 2 seconds later went right into the the verse, and I was just like, oh, that is cool shit.
I mean, I really think if you guys would have been around back in the day when Headbangers Ball was around, I think this would have been on heavy rotation.
Sure.
I like that idea. Let's
Yeah.
bring back Hairbangers Ball. How about that?
That would be so cool. But I think the appeal about Chains Over Razors, you guys got a real grassroots appeal. Meaning, I mean, you don't. I mean, it's getting on radio without even really trying, just because the fans have responded it to the way they have. And there seems to be love for what you guys do. This is a case where I think the fans have really kind of decided this is a band that we like.
That's what we want.
Yeah, and another track I really love. I mean, let me ask you guys about right off the bat, the title. I'm like, before I even heard the song, I'm like, man, I know I'm gonna love this song. Cut the Noose. I mean, what a cool song that is. I mean, again, full blown on metal.
Yeah, that was well, them writing the music. That's a different story. I'll just go off of the lyrics that I wrote.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was just something in me. I've had people that have left this earth not by normal things.
Wait,
and
okay.
And it's sad. It's sad to see anyone that wants to do that. There's something out there for everyone.
Sure.
And having that, being able to write that down on paper, and then actually have it put to a song was that was like a godsend for me.
Yeah.
I absolutely enjoyed that part of it.
And let me ask you, were these friends or family members? Not that it matters. I was just curious, like if other friends and family members have heard your song and they have any clue what it's even about, and was that like a reaction?
Oh yeah, I've had a couple family members that were like, "Oh my God, thank you for that song," because that brought me out of some darkness, And I've had some friends say, "Hey, you know what? I lost my one friend told me that he lost his cousin just from that." So
wow.
It's like it means a lot when people put it out there that it's there's other ways around life besides ending.
William, the cool thing about that to me is, as sad as it is to lose a family member or a friend like that, is by writing a song in a way like that, you keep their memory alive. And you let them know, I'm sorry, kind of your way of saying, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but you'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then,
they are not forgotten.
Yeah. You look at somebody like Mike Howe, who I remember, a singer from Metal Church, every time you'd see the guy in a picture, he'd always be smiling. I heard all his bandmates say they had no idea that he was suffering from any kind of depression. They said you'd always think he was a happy-go-lucky guy, and apparently he had other issues that he was dealing with. And again, another case of people having no idea because somebody was maybe he wasn't able for whatever reason to speak up, but through his tragic loss, maybe are you writing a song like you did? Somebody will hear that and think twice about maybe taking their life.
Yeah, or speak up about it. Like say something's bothering you, or let someone know. Because I know that there's always people that are like, you know what? If he would have let me known, or she would have let me known, I would have done something. Well, then do it. Say something.
See, that's the thing. You're not a mind reader. And I'm sure if you knew your friend was going through whatever, you would have been there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and nobody's made of steel. Things hurt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then Lighthouse, that's another cool song I like. Metal song with great melody. And that's what I noticed about a lot of songs. I mean, they got great melody.
Sorry, I got a train.
Okay. I was asking about the song.
I live right next to it.
Yeah, I was asking about the song Lighthouse. I mean, I listened to that. That's a great tune with melody, well written, like a lot of your songs are. What was that about?
What's Lighthouse about?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just be straight honest with you. I don't know if you ever played Xbox.
No.
Or any kind of video. Okay, well, there's a video game out there called BioShock.
Okay.
And just from playing it, it blew me away. The storyline.
Yeah.
It's very I guess you call that steampunk kind of feel, and it attached to me. So I'm like, all right, might as well get this off of me. So once I wrote it, then I'm like, okay, it's not that much attached to me anymore. Now it's a song.
Yeah. And another song I dig, maybe I ask you about this, Mikey. To an End. That sounds like it has kind of a Pantera vibe with me. To my ears, that's what Pantera would sound like if Pantera had melody. I don't know what you think about that, but
Yeah,
talk about writing that song, Yeah.
Oh man, I think it's one of the most difficult songs for us to play live. Just it's heavy, brutal, a lot of stamina needed to play it. Even vocally, it's very demanding. For the drums, you can hear that it's very physically demanding, but there's time signatures that are going on in the verse. And if you're not on your game on it, you're going to get thrown right off the racetrack. That's for sure. So, a song that we haven't had a chance yet to put in our set, but I'm pretty sure at some point we will be able to bring that one out, and hopefully nobody has any broken limbs.
And now being that I'm talking to you, Mikey, the guitar shred, I got to ask you about the song Fear, because I tell you, I just love the guitar riff that runs through that entire song.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that is we usually open that song live, and it's just such a heavy groove going on and just pure momentum. And just that initial shock when we kick in, people are just like, what?
Great way to open the show with,
Yeah, I mean, we really ride it out with that intro riff. We'll ride it out in the bridge of the song and just keep building the anticipation for it. And then when we just go. It's like a race car. Dropped it in first, and here we go. Get ready for the ride, because you're gonna have 11 more coming after this.
Contrary to the name, there is no fear when that song is played.
I bet not. I bet. I mean, and Andy, I got to ask you, and also in regards to Fear, you got like powerhouse drumming all the way through that song. I mean, talk a little bit about that, because your drums were just on fire.
Yeah, and that song, it was it's that the most difficult part of that song is when to let the guitar do the drive, and then when to allow the drums to jump back in and drive it with it. It kind of constantly push and pull back and forth. I know in the chorus it's kind of difficult because I'm actually swinging on the cymbals on my China on the backbeat on the end, like even when I do it with the tom. So it's one of those things where like you have to kind of go on autopilot for that to swing over it, because if you don't, it's just going to sound weird. But that was probably what makes it difficult, is because it's not super fast, but it's not super slow, but it's very intricate in the details of like when I want to drive it forward, when I'm going to do my fills, but then when I got to pull it back to allow Will's vocals or the guitars to drive the song, so it's very, very thought out, composed wise on that. So I know when we were writing that, I think I went through a couple different variations of that verse. So like one where it was like upbeat, it was too upbeat, one that was too fast, one that was, not fast enough. So it was like this middle ground. Like I think it was an accident. Like we played, and my brother's like, I think that's it. Like right there. Whatever you played.
Let me ask you, Andy, another thing is when you guys are up on the stage, it's just the three of you guys, and Mikey mentioned that he also handles the bass, but you don't have a traditional, let's say, rhythm section up there on the stage. So do you feel that because of that, you're driving a lot of the rhythm?
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of filling in space with like my double bassing, for example, or the way my drums are tuned to kind of fill out like almost like symphonic concert like with the resonance. So there's certain parts where I definitely got to fill in the gaps with my playing. I might have to do something technical just to fill it in, but make it sound musical. That's the hard part, right? I could go crazy and be as technical as I want to be, but does it serve right for the song? And the hard part is
it's more about the feel, I mean, and like Mikey said, I'm not really aware that the bass was missing until he told me,
Yeah, a lot of times I'm kind of mimicking what a drummer would do with his bass drum and a bass guitar. So like when they lock and pop it, like in funk and stuff like that. Like Behind These Eyes, the chorus is a straight up like R&B funk drum beat, right? But I dance on the double bass to fill in certain parts while he's playing his parts to fill in those gaps. So it's got to be cleverly written so that way it can be not only performed live, but to make it sound right. So there's a lot of thought that goes behind into the music where, you know, I wish there was some behind the scenes of like how we do it, but I wouldn't want to give that away.
I got you. And so, Mikey, before we wrap up the interview for the day, why don't you tell folks about, you mentioned to me you're going to have 2 more singles coming off album. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So starting in May, we are going to radio all across the United States with Broken Home, which is the second track on the album. So we're going to be launching that and getting the ears going on that for people to hear it. And we're going to keep pushing forward with shows. And then we will be following up with a 3rd single. I believe we might be going with the Narc on that one. It's still up in the air right now as we have time to decide on that. But Broken Home is the next push, and which is an interesting hypnotic tune.
Yeah.
So kind of sounds electronic in a way, but it's not, which is interesting, but hypnotic for sure. And then the story that Will talks in that song and his delivery really just pulls you in, and you start getting your own visual of this story.
And you say that's coming out in May?
Yeah, in May. So I would say like second week of May we'll be hitting radio. So I'm curious to see how people are going to take that. Just based on streaming alone, that seems to be organically growing as the next track. So it was like, well, why not take that one to radio?
Again, letting the people, giving the people what they want, huh? Yeah.
Exactly. You know, it kind of chose it on its own. You know, I mean, we were surprised. We never thought to launch that as a single until we started seeing the analytics, and we were like, wow, people are organically drawn to this tune. Okay, let's give it to them. It's
almost like you go back to 1976 and Kiss releases Detroit Rock City as a single, and the DJ started flipping over and playing Beth, you know, and that became the big hit.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking time to talk to you. I always enjoy talking to you. I'll tell you what, I want to invite you guys back sometime in May, maybe once you release a new single, and we'll talk about how people are reacting to it, okay?
Let's do it.
Okay, and the video we just did, it's going to be going up in about a week or 2. I'll let you know, so feel free to share it on all your sites and keep doing what you guys do, because we're loving the debut Chains Over Razors album, and I can't wait for the next, but we'll keep pushing this one right now.
Cool.
Thank you for having us again, and we would love to be back on your show.
You guys are always welcome. So I'll reach out to you again in May once I've had a chance to see the video and the single. You guys are just killing it. Thanks, William. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Mike. I'll be in touch. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Thank you.